Good morning. Welcome to Hometown Heroes. Good morning, Mary. How are you?
I'm great, Rick. How are you?
Doing good this morning.
Yeah, I trust you probably had a busy weekend as you almost always do. Or
Yeah,
really probably a week since we saw you last. I think you had several things that you were taking pictures at.
had a little audience with the governor of the state of Texas last night with
Ooh,
our friend Sheriff Wayborn. So that
yeah.
was my highlight of the week. And then Randy White, the cowboy, he was there too. So uh,
Oh, the clay shoot.
all- no, this was last night. Just a small little group with the governor. So
Very
it,
nice.
it was good. Well,
Rick's always busy, right?
tell us about our guest today.
So today we have with us Toni Russell and Kelly Castonguay, and we've known uh, both of these ladies for quite some time, and spend a lot of time with Kelly as Kelly and I take Don traversing all over the place and speaking and singing and doing his different things. We don't get to visit with Toni very often, but Toni actually is with the Gary Sinise Foundation as a volunteer, and she has been very active in the veteran community for a very long time. And we all know the Gary Sinise Foundation has done incredible work. Like many of you all, the first time I experienced anything with them was Snowball Express, and doing that many, many years ago. And really kind of sad it's not still here in the DFW area, but our paths have crossed a number of times, and we thought it would just be really neat to have Toni come on, because a lot of people don't know about the Gary Sinise Foundation, what they do, and how they're serving veterans and their families, and the families of those that aren't with us anymore. But there's a lot more to all of that, of course, because those of us with a heart for veterans, or those of us who are veterans, usually have a story behind that. And for Toni and Kelly, I'd love to hear you share with the audience what makes you have such a heart for veterans and want to do these things to benefit the veterans, the military community, the families of those that serve.
Oh, good morning. Um, First thing is, I'm actually staff with the Gary Sinise Foundation. I volunteered back when I was still employed with American Airlines, but I've been with the Sinise Foundation now for about 9.5 years. But mine goes back when I was in high school. I wanted to join the Air Force or the Navy. So we had career day at school, and I was all excited, went home and told my dad, and he promptly said no. And it was back during Vietnam. So I'm sure there was concern there, even though women didn't go to combat then, there was still some other things. And I was raised, when your parents say no, that's the end of conversation. You don't bring it up again. So it never crossed my mind that I just had to wait 2 months. I'd be 18. I could do what I wanted to do. So that went out the window. And then by the time I learned about reserves, I was too old for that. And so serving now is how I wear my boots. And I come from a family of military people. My birth father was a corpsman in the Navy and was attached to the Marines during World War II and was in Okinawa. And my stepfather, who raised me, was Army Air Corps. He was in the European theater. And I've had uncle that was killed in Korea. I've had an uncle that was a POW during World War II. I've had family members that served in the Army and the Navy and the Coast Guard. I think everything but maybe the Marines, but my dad served with the Marines, so kind of get them all there. And so,
Well, wasn't your dad missing in action for a little bit?
my dad was missing in action for a little while, so kind of hit all those boxes. And so it's just been something that I've, wanted to do. And the more I got involved in organizations and projects and stuff like that, then it just became a passion of mine to do. So anything I can do to help is a good thing.
Rick, you're muted. You looked like you were going to say something.
And then your career with American Airlines, before you retired, you really got involved with the military and veteran and Gold Star uh, families with that, didn't you?
I did. So I was 30 years with American Airlines and back with Skyball. So American Airlines provided volunteers starting with year number 3 of Skyball. So that first year I was just a volunteer, serving food and so forth like that. The second year I was asked to be in charge of volunteers for the flight service. So we did that. And then every year it just became more and more involved, where at one point in time I was in charge of ground transportation, hotels, flights. Back then, Skyball was one event, one a night. It grew to 4 days of nonstop events and was just a crazy time. So I had a lot of involvement through the years with that. With Snowball Express, it used to be an individual organization, a standalone, supported obviously by American Airlines, who provided the aircraft. And I started in year number 3 with that as a crew member. And we were going to California then. So the first year I did that. And then the second year I was asked to handle the crewing of all the charters. And so I did that. And then it became, we used to have 3 airplanes, and it was 6 airplanes, and it was 9 airplanes, and then 11, and just grew. And at one point I was in charge of all the stations and just, lots of involvement there. And then eventually it has become underneath the Gary Sinise Foundation. We had Salute to the Troops, which is a charter that American does that takes our wounded from Walter Reed and Bethesda and Agast and takes them to Las Vegas for 5 days. So I was involved in those charters. Then several years ago, they started doing charters in the springtime for military families with cancer. So we do those charters. We had Oshkosh. We did the 75th and the 80th anniversaries of Pearl Harbor. We took World War II veterans back to Hawaii for that. We recently just did the 80th in Normandy with American, and Gary Sinise was a sponsor of that. So just, started a lot with American Airlines, and it's just grown by leaps and bounds.
It's grown and grown, and the involvement with Skyball included the Air Power Foundation, and Kelly's kind of totally immersed in that because what's your official title with the Air Power Foundation, Kelly?
Cat herder? No, I'm just kidding. Executive administrator.
Okay, so it's so good to see a family involved like y'all have been with the veteran and military and Gold Star community. So,
the kids started as volunteers, and they used to joke that they would volunteer because that was the only way they got to see me.
True story.
One of our Gold Star moms and one of our listeners, Carla Wicks, said that, "Hello, my wonderful people. My husband and I did volunteer work for Snowball Express." So, thank you for reaching out to us, Carla, and thank you for all you do to honor our fallen and our veterans and military. And Carla's a veteran also, so she kind of covers all the bases.
Yeah, can't do any of this without the volunteers. That's for sure.
And this year, you went to D-Day, and you took Don Graves with you. Did you? Were you in charge of Don Graves, Kelly?
Yes. Try to be in charge.
You're his adult supervision, like you were in Ireland for his 97th or 98th?
98th birthday. Yeah.
98th birthday.
Mm-hmm.
You had to, not had to, but you were his adult supervision in Ireland. So,
and thankfully, Jeremy Locke was there with us.
Takes a lot of people to supervise that one guy.
It does.
It takes a team.
Yeah.
And we've got Skyball coming up next month. And Toni, are you going to be involved in that?
Well, it used to be in the very beginning. I was major involved with Skyball. And we would go to places and it was, I'm Toni Russell and this is my daughter, Kelly. Now I reserve that day as I'm her helper. So now, it's Kelly and this is my mom, Toni. So I'm her helper on Skyball now. So.
Well, I know that the foundation, Air Power Foundation, really thanks you and is really honored to have you helping Kelly now. So
thanks. Yeah, it was time to pass the torch.
We're going to talk about your family a little bit, and you have some other children besides Kelly, correct?
I do. I have 2 sons, Jeff and Jason, and their family. So those 2 sons have given me 5 grandchildren, and so those are the pride of my heart there.
This is another picture of them, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's an extended family.
Yes, these are our good friends in Michigan. We met them like 47 years ago, and I took Jeff and his family, and we did a little glamping last summer in the state park, or a park up at Silver Lake in Michigan. And so those have been our dear friends for 40 some odd years.
And on the podcast today, we're going to look at some pictures and kind of talk about some of those. And this is at Skyball. Was it last year? Probably last year, wasn't it?
Yes.
We've got a lot of our rowdy people there, it looks like.
Yeah, those are the people that we close the doors down with this group.
Not rowdy, because we got a major general standing back there, and he's not rowdy, so.
Yeah, but his wife Lisa is, so.
And
some of our small families. Yeah. I don't remember what year that was, but that's some of our snowball families, our cute little girls. That was in California. We did a program called Hollywood Salutes Heroes, and we took a charter of, again, our wounded from Bethesda and Walter Reed, and we took them to California, but we didn't tell them what we were going to do. And so the first night we were at the Disneyland Hotel, so they kind of figured we would do Disneyland. So that was one of the programs that we had. You see Gary there is in the middle, and one of our wounded, Linda, she's there with her service dog, Isaac, and Jay Redman, and so forth like that. So it was a fun event to show our wounded that we still care about them and that we're thinking about them. And so
that was kind of nice to have a mystery trip like that, I bet.
Yes, it was. And what was so fun was that we did the Disneyland the one day, and then the next day we went to Paramount Studios. And so they had the gates covered, and we put them in the gate, and we opened the gate and marched them in. And the USC, part of the USC marching band was there, and they had a bunch of people from Paramount Pictures and were there and welcoming them. We had Tim Allen was there, and just Catherine McPhee and
Tom Hanks.
And then what we did was we had lunch, and then we took them into the theater. And this was the 20th anniversary of Forrest Gump. And so we took all the guys into the theater, and we were showing a screening of the movie. And of course, Gary was there, and Tom Hanks was there. Michael T., who played Bubba, was there. Wendy Feinerman, who was the producer, was there. And so it was just interesting. And then after the movie, then we did a ticker tape parade along the streets of New York there in the studios. And then the Lieutenant Dan Band did a concert for them. So it was quite the adventure.
A really good adventure for them. Mm-hmm. One of our other, it's Gold Star Parents Morning this morning, but Terry Burgess, he says, "Good morning, everyone. I'm traveling to Oklahoma, but I wanted to stop by and say how much I loved each and every one of you." So I know that we all have love for Terry and Elizabeth and Brian Burgess, his son, who was killed in action, but just a tremendous Gold Star family who does Gold Star Parents Retreat. Thank you for watching, Terry. And we love you so much too.
Well,
Amen.
he and Beth are a good example of paying forward. So their son, Brian, was killed. And so his children and his wife are part of the Snowball family. And so they've benefited from the programs and help. And then Terry and his wife, Beth, started a program for parents, Gold Star parents and stuff like that. So again, it's just how being involved in one organization gives you the idea, and then you take it forward and you help another group that's affected by it.
And they do a good job of paying it forward. And thanks to American Airlines and the generous donations they make in air miles to the Gold Star Parents Retreat, Terry and Elizabeth are able to bring a lot of these Gold Star parents from other parts of the country to attend the retreat they have annually up in Wichita Falls. So that's just a real blessing that American does for them.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't realize that when they see that on their American Air Miles, where they can give some of their miles back. If you're not going to use all of your miles, and Toni, I'm sure you can explain this far better than me, but if you're not going to use them all, why just leave them sit there? You can give them to American, and American that can then turn around, and that's what they use those miles for. And it's so important because some of these organizations, you know, Terry's is one of them, couldn't bring these people out to these events and give them this help and everything that they do for them without being able to use those miles from American. You know, we're beneficiaries of that program at Roll Call, and we have miles, and we, you know, when we need to bring a speaker in or we need to send somebody somewhere, we can use those miles. We've helped Liberty Phillips get some of her kids here for a program using those American miles. We wouldn't have been able to do that. We don't have the finances at Roll Call to do that. So, you know, it really is such a great program that so many people just don't know about.
Yes. Yeah. You can go online and absolutely donate your miles into the a bucket that's used for military and veterans and so forth like that.
Yeah.
So absolutely look into that.
And they do a beautiful job too, American does, with a dignified transfer of the remains of our soldiers and bring them in and having, you know, a ceremony there at the airplane. I've got a question for you. In the background, there's a folded flag up on the top of the shelf back there, right up there. Did that belong to somebody? Was that a flag from
My dad, my stepfather, he's buried at Arlington National Cemetery. So that's his flag.
Because I have a couple of those at my house from my father, and you know, it's just that is such a great honor to have that military ceremony like that. So
Yes.
let's talk about. Let's get back to the pictures.
Those are a couple of our World War II characters that were on a Soaring Valor. Soaring Valor is a program that the Gary Sinise Foundation does. American donates a charter, and we take World War II veterans to New Orleans, and they get to visit the National World War II Museum that's built for them. And so I think next week we're doing maybe our 27th or 28th, and it's going to be from Los Angeles. But these are two of our characters that were with us, and it's so much fun because you go through the museum, and I've been through it so many times, but it's different every time because you hear the stories about where they were and what they did, and they can provide the sights and the sounds and the details that, you know, that we don't know about. And
this was, yes, this war was over 80 years ago, and they still, World War II veterans still remember it like it was yesterday. I mean, the memories, the smells, everything.
Isn't that something? When they start talking about it with somebody else that's been there, or you take them someplace where they see artifacts from that time, just how their minds go right back, like it's like they're right there. And
Yes.
and you hope that it doesn't, and some folks would say, well, that's kind of cruel. That would be stirring up bad emotions. But what have you seen? Have you seen it bring up bad emotions, or what have you experienced when you've done it with them?
Well, there's always, I mean, that can happen, and it does, but I think it gives them validation of what they were doing and why they did it. And it gives them a sense of what they contributed to our freedom. And they'll say the same thing. They were just doing what they were supposed to do, and they would do it all over again. But it gives them an opportunity to share with their families, because a lot of times their families don't even know these stories until they're with them there. So it gives them an opportunity to do that. On the Soaring Valors that GSF does, they include high school students. So for like this trip that's coming up, every single veteran will be paired with a high school student. So it's a 3-day living history for them. And so, you can't put a price on that.
And I will say too, being paired with the high school students, like we did a Soaring Valor trip in July, and the people at the museum kept insinuating to the students, these guys were your age that you are right now when they were going into World War II. And so it makes the students think, wow,
Yeah, hard to believe, right? How do the high school students get selected to participate with that?
The foundation will work with different schools, and sometimes it's because we have a connection to a school. Like here, when we did it out of DFW, we did it out of Keller. Randy Stillinger, who is head of the Veterans Military Program at American, his daughters went to Keller High School, so we had a connection there. And then the schools have their own way of selecting the students, and it could be, they have to write an essay of why they want to do this, or what it means to them, or so that each school determines how they pick their students. So that was.
I know Rick had a question, but he's muted.
Yeah, that's from one of the Pearl Harbor anniversary charters, and we see members of the Lieutenant Dan Band are in there, and then Wanda Cox from Air Power Foundation, her husband, who's retired military. So,
Colonel Bruce Cox. I served with him.
Did you really?
I did. Yep, I sure did. I helped him with his professional military education and his education benefits both.
Was he a commander at the 301st, or was Bruce a commander?
He was a pilot at the 457th at the time. Okay. I think then he went to 10th Air Force.
He was at Barksdale.
So he wasn't the commander of the 457th at the time before I left to become a first sergeant. Yes, and then he went to Barksdale and he was a commander there.
Okay.
But I had a lot of interactions with him.
His pilot name is Baghdad.
Yeah.
And he received, I think, the Silver Star. I hadn't heard the entire story from him, but he was flying. It was sometime over Baghdad, and he kind of had a little interaction with a MiG, or maybe 2 MiGs, but there wasn't like a dogfight. But in his citation, it mentioned Baghdad so many times that he got the nickname, I think, is the way the story goes. And hopefully we'll have him on the show one time.
Yeah, he's quite the kid. He doesn't like to talk about his service a whole lot. It's funny. He was way more boisterous when he was serving than he has been since he left.
But he's a great guy, and Wanda couldn't do all she does without his support. So
absolutely.
Where is this, Toni?
So I think that is a trip that we were down in Florida. I'm trying to think of the base, the Air Force base that's down in Florida. But I can't think of it right now. MacDill?
Were you in Tampa?
It looks like
City.
Where were you at?
near Panama City, I think.
Eglin?
Yes,
Eglin Air Force Base?
Eglin. Yes, we were at Eglin Air Force Base there. So I think that was where we did a community trip. And so, because you can see some air power people in there too.
Yeah, there's General Pottinger and Wanda, and I see a few more. Maybe that's Vic back there.
I think I see Marita.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And those are some great trips that the Fort Worth Air Power Foundation, Fort Worth Air Power Council, and the Air Power Foundation put on. And I know that Mary and Kelly, I think y'all both been on some of those community trips, like to Fort Hood or Fort Cavassa.
Mm-hmm.
And those are just great times to be out there and see what's going on.
And this was at your retirement party.
Yes, yeah, it was. So that's Maggie Magellas. And he was in World War II. He lived to be like 103, I believe. So he was a great man. They've been trying to get a Medal of Honor citation for him, but it hasn't worked out. But he was a great hero.
He was at D-Day, wasn't he? Do you know?
I don't know if he was in D-Day. I know he was in Market Gardens.
Okay.
And Battle of the Bulge. So.
And here you are doing some baseball. Is this a celebrity baseball tournament?
Yeah, that was a celebrity softball tournament. I think it was
with
first
GK, Tim Clone.
Yeah. So I was first base coach. First base.
And you got a nickname from your teammates.
Well,
Gray.
that wasn't from the there.
Oh, it wasn't?
No. Yeah. And that's the All-American Veterans Parachute Team. I've actually jumped with them.
Have you really?
I have one parachute jump under my belt.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So,
Is John Kinnear's next to you?
Yeah, John Kinnear, great John Kinnear. So yeah, they do parachute jumps at Sky Ball, and they jump into different events and so forth like that. So
yeah, they did the Armed Forces Bowl last year. Well, did they do it? One year it got canceled because of the wind.
Yeah, I think that was 2 years ago. It got canceled.
The Freedom Mobility Foundation has their annual golf tournament, and they jump into that too. So it's a great group of people, and these are some familiar faces.
Yes. So I'm wearing my Barbara Bush blue dress in the Blue Room at the White House. So that was at an event that they have for Gold Star families. So as I mentioned earlier, I have an uncle that was killed in Korea. So we were honoring him as a representative from the Korean War. That was during COVID. So that's why there's spaces, between the people and so forth like that. But it was just, there were only like 25 Gold Star families there. And President Trump met with every family individually, took his time, talked with them, asked about their hero, got to know them. And so it was very personal with them. And so that was quite an honor to be there.
You have a blue dress on.
Yes.
And is it the Barbara Bush dress?
Well, Barbara Bush was known for wearing blue. So that's why I say it's my Barbara Bush blue dress in the Blue Room at the White House.
That's very appropriate.
Yeah.
And there's a familiar face.
Yeah. So we got Taco Bell and Jacques, and they're both. Taco is a pilot with American Airlines. He's also former Marine, or always a Marine, I guess I should say.
Mm-hmm.
He's
right.
Then Jacques is retired from American Airlines, and that was at a snowball, one of our snowball things, and they had those equipment out there. It looks like we were down in the stockyards, I think, that year.
Yeah. Looks like.
Taco's a great guy, and he has a podcast every Tuesday night, Tall Tales with Taco. So be sure and tune into that. But he's just a great guy, and he knows everybody.
Everybody. For
see
real.
on the book post, he runs into this guy or that guy around his travels in the world. So he's a great guy.
Yeah. So that's an American Eagle Envoy airplane, and they donate an aircraft for the Lieutenant Dan Band to travel, and we go to different military bases for concerts. And so this is one of the concerts that one of the charters that we did. And usually what we would do, and Gary was doing this back, oh my gosh, when he was in CSI, he would work all week, and then he would fly in on Friday night, and we would go to 3 different bases, do 3 concerts over the weekend, and then he would go back to work on Monday. So I don't know how he ever rested or anything like that. So they do about, 5, 6 charters a year. And then they do other concerts besides those, but I'm involved when it's the charter.
And you do all the get everything ready for the charter flight and make all the reservations and talk to the tower and give them all the right information.
I don't do the tower part, but I do all the background stuff. Getting it. Yes, I'm with the Gary Sinise Foundation. I'm the travel and logistics manager, and so I handle charters. So,
one of our listeners is a friend of yours, Glenn Williams, and we see him a lot. So Toni's the best. I've learned so much from her about how to be a great volunteer. She has the biggest servant's heart, and we can attest to that. And your genes passed on to Kelly because she has a great servant's heart too. So thank you, Glenn, for being on today.
He's a great volunteer too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's my family again. That's on New Year's Day.
Mary, I think you could wear this sweatshirt every day as well.
Yeah, for real. I could almost every day.
Yeah.
This is at the DFW National Cemetery. Whenever they lay the wreaths out there. So
across America.
Yes, Wreaths Across America. So I'm a section leader out there. Paul Bannerman, he works at TSA, and the guy behind him is a volunteer. So every December, we lay wreaths out at the cemetery, along with thousands of volunteers that come out and do that. So I have sections 30 to 33, and there's about 600 graves in each of those sections. And then in May, I'm a section leader for the flags to be planted. And so it's really important to do that. It brings just an opportunity to remember those that served. And, they say that you die twice, once when you die and once the last time your name is ever said. So when these wreaths are laid or the flags are planted, the volunteer will place it and then step back and say the name of the person whose grave that they are adorning with. And so that keeps them alive for another time. And it's just a good way to remember them.
And there's thousands of volunteers that come out now to lay wreaths in there.
Yes. And for now, it's, if you're not out there at least 2 hours in advance, you're not going to get a close, and you'll be walking at least a mile, if not more, to come and help. So yes, it's become and it's great because we have Boy Scout units that come out and Girl Scouts. We've got ROTC groups that come out that help. We've got organizations like Amazon will have a group of employees that come out and do it. We've got families that come out and do it. So it's a great community event to bring people out to. And again, passing along that to the next generation.
And do they do the same thing with the flags? That whenever they put a flag down, they say the name of the person?
Yes.
Well, that's very touching.
Well, and there's a designated day during the year, so this is happening all across the country on the same day. Yeah. So that's neat.
And this picture is from the Armed Forces Ball, and I don't think that was last year. I think that was year before last.
Yeah.
When it was so cold.
Frozen Bowl.
Yeah, that was too cold that year.
Very cold. Yeah.
Because I was in another suite with the skipper, and I wanted to take a picture of him, but he didn't have his coat buttoned up, and so he's wait. I've got to button my coat up. That coat, it's a long overcoat, and it has a lot of buttons. It took him a long time to button that coat up, but We have Medal of Honor recipient Sal there, and it looks like who else is in that picture? There's Sid, and is
Yes.
it Jim Darwin?
Yeah, Marine Jim Darwin, Mike Brower,
Charlie?
Marine Charlie Kripliver, who is now our vice chairman at the Air Power Foundation.
And Michael's in the very back behind the skipper, isn't he?
Yes. And then the skipper's wife and their oldest son.
Yeah. Those have been good events, and we're just so grateful to have such a close knit relationship with ESPN and the Armed Forces Bowl. So they really do a great job. And we're talking about Terry and Elizabeth Burgess, and there's a section of the highway that honors their son, Brian Burgess. And of course, I don't know how often Terry and Elizabeth, and they're 4 times a year, they go pick up trash. And it looks like that y'all were helping do a little trash pickup that day.
Yeah, we pick up trash.
Yeah, 2 miles of highway in Crowley.
Yeah.
And that's just another way we have of honoring our fallen heroes. So this must be in Hawaii.
Well, it wasn't. It was
It wasn't?
troops, but we wore our shirts. Those are the shirts that we had. The Gary Sinise Foundation actually had those shirts for the one of the Pearl Harbor charters that we did. So we wore those. So those are Bob Morosco and Ed Schock and Jeff Blaylock. So they're all retired from the military. And Jeff was a pilot with American Airlines, and they are super volunteers and help with Salute to the Troops, which again is when we take our wounded from Bethesda and Walter Reed and we take them out to Las Vegas for 5 days. So, and they were also part of a trip that I did in 2009 called Operation Iraqi Children. And American gave us a 767. I was still with American then. And we took 20 tons of school supplies that have been collected by the Operation Iraqi Children organization, which was Gary Sinise and Laura Hildebrand, who wrote Unbroken. And Mary Eisenhower was part of that. And so they collect supplies, and then we took them over and gave them to the American soldiers and stuff, which then gave them out to the kids. And that proved to be good because, they were taught that Americans were bad and everything. And we're building schools for them. We're giving them packets of school supplies. And, you give a kid paper and a pencil and you'd think you'd given them, a go-kart. They were just so excited about it. And what it did too, is it showed those families and those kids that the Americans were the good guys. And it actually saved lives there because some of those kids then pointed out where IEDs were hidden and everything like that. So they were part of that trip also.
Was it to Afghanistan or Iraq?
Well, we flew the plane to, I'm trying to think. No, we had 3 groups. We had the group that we landed in Bahrain, and part of us got off there, and then we went out and landed on a carrier. And then we had a group that went to Balad and a group that went to Baghdad, and they went to we landed the American plane in Kuwait, and then they got a military planes and went to those other 2 locations. And we took entertainers with us on that, and that particular trip there were 92 of us, and we took Tony Orlando and his band. We took 3 former Miss Americas. We took entertainers from Branson.
Did Matt Snook go with you?
Matt Snook, yeah. And so we had entertainers that went to each of the locations. We had we had 6,000 pairs of Croc shoes that we gave to the kids and the people there. And that was the Easter that the pirate situation was taking place with Captain Phillips. And so we were out there. I was out there on the USS Eisenhower when that was happening. So we found out that it concluded that night on the ship before it even hit the news and stuff like that. And so that was a pretty important, it was a very life-changing trip for everybody that was on that
One of those that you'll remember for life.
Yep. Yep. So that was taken at Skyball. And the gentleman in the dark colored jacket, that's my birth father, Alton, and his brother. And that year we were saluting World War II veterans. And so they were honored guests at Skyball. And then you'll see Kelly there, and then my son Jeff, who were volunteering. And so that was one of the many Skyballs that we did.
You've been involved in a lot of Skyballs.
Yes, I have.
And this is what number is this, Kelly? The one coming up?
This is going to be number 23.
Okay.
So, and I think this picture, I believe, was taken in 2000, either 12 or 2014.
It's a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, this is another one at Skyball with Brother Jeff, who was an awesome volunteer. And this one was in 2012. So I think the other picture was 2014.
So that
Where
was
is this one?
that was taken at BAMC, and again, that was where the Lieutenant Dan Bam was doing a concert there, and we teamed with Chef Irvine from the Chef Irvine Foundation, and they cook. The band performs, and it's called Invincible Spirit, and so my son was a coach for the women's soccer team at the University of Texas at San Antonio. So he was able to take a little bit of time off and come see me.
Yeah. So this is Brother Jason.
Yeah.
Nice.
And BAMC is Brooke Army Medical Center at Fort Sam Houston in San Antonio. So there they have just a whole array of our wounded warriors. You know, they've got the burn unit, and they do a lot of things with the amputees and paraplegics and all kinds of those catastrophic wounds that we receive in war. So do they do that? Do they go down there every year, the Gary Sinise Foundation?
Every year to BAMC. They do it at Fort Belvoir. They do them in down in San Diego at the medical hospital there. So they do them at several places around the country every year. And then, so while the band plays, and then Gary will, and Chef Irvine does too, they'll go into the hospital and they'll actually visit with those that aren't able to come out to the concert. So they continue to doing their hospital visits.
And you said the Lieutenant Dan Band does 4 or 5 of these tours a year and makes several bases every tour, or?
Well, they do 4 or 5 charters a year.
Okay.
And those charters, they'll do 2 to 3 bases with each of those charters, but then they do concerts beyond the charter ones too. So I think at one point, you know, they might do, you know, 25, 30 concerts a year at different military bases.
So they get around.
Yes, they do.
And it's great to see somebody like Gary Sinise that had a part in a movie and then took that and really started reaching out to veterans and the military as part of his being an actor. And we had Scott Gibson on just a few weeks ago. He was in the series The Pacific, and he's doing a lot of that too. So it's just great to see those actors giving back.
Yeah.
And what's the significance of that?
We lived in Michigan for a little over 5 years. My youngest son was born in Kalamazoo, so we're big Michigan fans. So go Blue!
Great Michigan fan.
Yeah, yeah. So that's I think that's down in San Antonio at an Air Force base down there, but it's not Lackland. There's a smaller base there that had some.
Randolph.
Might have been Randolph. Yeah. So just opportunity to get inside and see what it was like.
I just didn't let you fly it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So that was the first time I was at the White House. So I'm in my Nancy Reagan red dress on the red couch in the red room at the White House.
You know your way around the White House pretty good.
Yeah. So I was there. That was the Elizabeth Doe Foundation has a program for caregivers. And so we were there, and that was when it was first getting off the ground. And Michelle Obama and Jill Biden hosted the group there, a little lunch and so forth like that. And Rosalind Carter was there. So that was an important event, because that's, I think, where we're still lacking in support is for the caregiver families.
Oh yeah, for real.
Absolutely. And there's some organizations I've seen that have retreats for the caregivers, and then and sometimes it's the family member who's a caregiver, but then also some of the caregivers that are from outside the family. I mean, some of them are 24/7 for some of these veterans.
Yeah.
And downtime's important.
Well, and as a caregiver, that line gets kind of muddled there, where you're not just the wife anymore. You're now the caregiver, and just, they need time away, and they need time to be with other families. And it's kind of like we do in Snowball. That's one of the purposes of Snowball, is to get the families together and support each other, and to know that you're not the only one going through all of this. And then you can see, like, if you've got a situation, maybe somebody else has already dealt with that, and you can give them tips and stuff like that. So it's the same thing with the caregivers. They just need to get away and meet with other families to know that, you can get through it, and we're here to help you, and here's where some resources are, and so forth like that. So, it's, you never get away from it. It's 24/7.
Yeah, one of the organizations that my brother works closely with is Brothers Keepers, and the founder, Jack Fannin, he was an Air Force combat controller. He broke his neck, so he's a quadriplegic, and they help people that are mobily impaired like Jack, but also they reach out to the caregivers, because being a quadriplegic, he has to have somebody there all the time. And so from that experience, he knows firsthand how the caregivers have so much, they get so tired and just not only physically, but emotionally drained. And so they provide a resource for the caregivers too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It looks like you're running from somebody here.
The Snowball Kiddos.
Yeah, that was Snowball Express down in the stockyards and stuff like that. Was just.
And I never got to go when it was in the stockyards, but yeah. I sure wished I could have attended. Yeah. Now this looks like this is on an aircraft carrier.
Yes, that was on the USS Eisenhower. So I've actually had a tailhook landing and a catapult takeoff of a carrier, which is pretty spectacular.
I bet it is. Mary, have you ever done that?
No, just up in an F-16. That's all I've done.
Well, that's pretty special.
It sure was.
So this was the group that I was telling you about, our OIC trip. So this was our Bahrain group. So this was our group that went out. And you see the lady in the dark sweater next to me, that's Mary Eisenhower. So she's the granddaughter of President Eisenhower. And then the tall gentleman in the white shirt, he was a Blue Angel pilot. And then we've got some entertainers and the bottom row, those are all singers or dancers that were entertaining on the ship. And the two middle guys, the guy in the red and the shorter guy in the white, they were both with American Airlines. So it was quite the experience.
A good group of people.
I love this picture.
There's one of our good friends, Don Graves, and Mary. I think you were his adult supervision that night.
I was.
And I think this was at the last Skyball, wasn't it?
Yes.
Last year?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's just a great picture.
It just speaks volumes. Yeah.
And there you are with Santa Claus.
That's for Santa. Yes, that was at the.
This is Dr. Don Sheldon, who's been with the Air Power Council and the Air Power Foundation for many years. And he is a real Santa Claus, and he's played in over 100 episodes as Santa Claus on the Hallmark Channel's Christmas show. So you've probably seen Dr. Don out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
One of our favorite, yes, one of our favorite gentlemen of all time.
Yeah, that's Medal of Honor recipient Jim Taylor.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Yeah. So a couple more. We've got Doc and Flo. Mm-hmm.
There's a little trouble there with Doc.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love Doc. So I'm especially with him.
Yes. Doc is a character.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
And there's Sal.
Mm-hmm.
And this was at the American Airlines Museum, and it was a book signing. And what's his name? I've taken 100 pictures of him, but I can't.
No, isn't it David?
David.
Yeah.
And yes.
Go ahead.
He's an honor recipient as well. Mm-hmm. So Randy's in this picture, Glenn, Taco Bell, Don Graves, Maria, Will.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And he did such a good presentation, and Taco interviewed him that day. I thought it was just really good.
Yes.
And this is at the museum too.
At the Sierra Smith Museum. So this is packing care packages for our troops, and this was something that American Airlines did, and Randy was one of his projects, and these are all volunteers. And we packed, I think this might have been, we started off, I think the first time we did it, we did like 1,200. And I think the last time we did a packing, we did like 5,000. And so they're just little snack packs that are then given out to the military. They're shipped to different places. So
a lot of great work making those care packages.
Yeah.
So it's just this was actually at Snowball Express, and this is she's now 8, but this is my little niece Cammie, and she's the one reason I wear tutus. But we got her since she was since she was born. We brought her to Snowball anytime it was here in Dallas. So
yeah, so trying to get that next generation in there.
She'll be volunteering before long.
Yeah.
And I don't remember where this was at, but apparently I took the picture because my watermark's at the bottom.
Yes, so this was down in down south of Arlington. There was a veteran, and this was during COVID, and he was dying, passing away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in Kennedale.
Yeah, Mary and I were there.
Yes. And so there was a big ask to come, and people stand outside his bedroom, and then outside his room, and pray for him and sing with him. And
that was just a remarkable experience for me, and I'm sure you all think the same. This fella, he was a Vietnam veteran, and he was comatose. He was in a coma, and they reached out to have people come there and honor him. And so I think, Mary, you did the pinning ceremony on him. Mm-hmm. And then I presented him with a flag from the Retired Flag Project. And the window was open to his bedroom. And then the people outside started singing. And afterwards, he would worked at the VA as a volunteer building models of motorcycles. And he had, I don't know how many of those. I mean, they were huge models.
Yeah, they weren't little.
And the family wanted veterans to have them. So they started passing them out, and there's probably 20 or 30 of them. But that's just another great way that we honor our veterans.
Yeah, that was very emotional, especially when everybody was singing Amazing Grace. Wow, that was really...
It was. And then he died. He died a few days later.
Mm-hmm. This was one of my most favorite groups. This is the WASP, the Women Air Service Pilots. And I first met them in 2010 when they were getting their gold medal at the White House. And I helped through American Airlines, I helped provide transportation for them to go to the ceremony. And then they would have a reunion here in that local area. The people of the 99s would host them in their homes down in Granbury and then take them to Sweetwater for the annual reunion there. And just when I met them, they were all in their upper 80s, maybe some in the young 90s, and they were spitfires then. I can only imagine what they were like when they were 20s.
There were some special women who were
Very
pilots
Yes.
that, if it hadn't been for them, you know, we would not have had an easy job with testing our aircraft and ferrying our aircraft. And at Sweetwater, there's the Wasp Museum, and every year they do have that reunion. And I've been there the last 3 or 4 years, but there's not many of those women left. So usually it's just family members that show up now, because there was only just a little over 1,000 of them.
Yes, there were about 1,700 of them to begin with. And when I started working with them in 2010, there were about 300 that were still alive. Now we're under 30 that are still living.
It's very sad.
Pictures. Oh,
I don't know. I don't know how that got in there, but it must be a picture that Kelly sent me. It must be you in high school.
Yeah.
Her senior year.
But, you know, I mean, that's where the leadership came from. I mean, my entire time in high school, I was either a class officer or part of the leadership in the school and stuff like that. So, yeah. That's way back then.
So this picture means a lot to me. Down in the front is my brother, Jeff, and then my stepdaughter, Maggie, Steve's daughter, and my mom. And we were at the Armed Forces Bowl game. So Maggie comes every time around Christmas time. And so she's able to join us at the Armed Forces Bowl game a few years.
That's good.
So this little one, we've watched her grow up. She's now in college, but she was my snowballer. I still am in touch with her and her mom. And yeah, just special. Everybody, not everybody. We all find that one little snowballer and we just grab them and love them. And she was mine. So, and she still is. Yeah.
And you made a difference in her life by being her friend and taking care of her.
And that's where Snowball has really evolved, because it used to just kind of be the trip. You know, you took them to Disneyland the first 3 years. We were in Dallas for 8 or 9 years, and now it's been in Disney since I think 2018 when it became part of the Gary Sinise Foundation. But now, I mean, there's a resource room in there, and you know, it's just more to it and more in depth, and there's an age where the kids are no longer eligible to come to Snowball Express itself, but now there's community events around the country. And so the Sinise Foundation has really taken it another level. So they keep the families involved. And now there's programs for these little kids that are now young adults. And so now there's programs for them to keep them going. I used to think in the beginning that you should come to like maybe 1 or 2, maybe 3 snowballs and then, you know, have it be a transition thing. But what I realized is that your loss is ever changing. So when I'm 5 years old, I've lost my dad who read me bedtime stories and gave me piggyback rides. But now I'm 10, and now I'm missing the person who would teach me to throw a baseball or to deal with bullying. Now I'm 16, and now I'm not with the person if I'm, you know, a teenage boy who would teach me how to shave or drive a car or how to date. Now I'm 18, and who's going to help me, you know, determine my career path as an adult and colleges to go to. And it's one thing to be a single parent of small kids. It's a whole nother thing to be a single parent of teenagers. So their loss is ever changing. So to be around other families that have already been through those stages, they can help you, and then you can help the ones that are coming up behind you. So, and, you know, it's a family that you never want to be part of, but I'm glad there's programs out there to help support them. And with the Gary Sinise Foundation, since they kind of took over Snowball Express, but last year they also incorporated our first responders. So now we have a week in December at Disney that is for the families of the fallen, for our first responders. So
that's important too, to have that support for those children.
Yes.
It sounds like the foundation continuously is evolving to see what the needs are and then find a way to fulfill those needs. So they'll
Yeah.
be they'll certainly be going on for long after probably all of us are no longer here, hopefully.
Yeah.
And
They've got a
that
program.
critical work.
Yeah, they've got a program where they build homes for our most severely injured. We've got educational programs. So we have a 9/11 program where we have high school students come in and we take them to the 9/11 museum. And again, because they're not learning that in schools.
Mhm.
And then we have, we are part of the 957 project, and 957 involves Shanksville. 957 is the time that the passengers began their,
Let's roll.
Yeah, Let's Row program and stuff like that. So again, it's very important to honor the people that were affected by that and to teach that next generation of why freedom is so important, and that you as a person can become involved. You don't have to be in the military to be involved, to make a difference in your community and stuff. But we're all affected by the military. Either you serve in different jobs, but you serve in different, we all benefit from what they give us.
Yeah, and we at Roll Call are fortunate because of this connection with you and Kelly to Roll Call, we received the gift and blessing of them covering a couple of our lunches this year. So the first one they're going to cover is actually the luncheon this Friday. The Gary Sinise Foundation is sponsoring that lunch. And when you look at the economic times that we're in, and all of the organizations that I know are having so much trouble raising money this year because the economy and people don't know what's going to happen with the election, and you get all the different reasons that people are kind of holding on to their money this year, and it's been much more challenging to raise money. So the gift of having the Gary Sinise Foundation, we're just a little group, and we meet here in DFW and have veterans from all over the North Texas area, and to be able to serve those 450 to 500 for two of these luncheons without it having to come out of what we think, that is a huge help to us. And for that, we're eternally grateful, because without the connection and the relationship, and I think you guys talked about it earlier, that how those tentacles reach out and we help one another, without that connection that we have with you, they would not even know about Roll Call, and we wouldn't know about the opportunity to have them help us. So for that, we are very, very grateful.
Yeah, that's part of our Serving Heroes program. And so we do that around the country. So yes, we're very honored to do that this win. I think we do another one in December. And again, that's where people in the community can come and help and serve during that time too.
Yeah, and every month we have, it seems like a different group of young people coming with either parents or schools. And this month we have another group of 10 that are coming. And so every month our volunteer coordinator has to now coordinate. We used to just say, yeah, come on and help us. But we had so many volunteers, we had to start saying, no, we got to organize this, because we can't have everybody all come in 1 month to help. And that's a huge blessing, because it takes a lot of people to put food on the table in front of a veteran, not them get up and stand in a line, but them stay seated, stay visiting with the people at their table, their fellow veterans. And a volunteer comes by and puts a plate on the table in front of them, fills their drink, clears their plates off the table. It's so amazing. We have the best volunteers in the world. And I know we all feel that way about our volunteers, but man, we're blessed. We are really blessed.
One of those volunteers that we are blessed with is Miriam Hink.
Huge.
And she says, good morning from the dentist office. So she's the one that, along with Carla Wicks, every month, they're the ones that are directing all those people that are passing out the plates. So we're glad that you're watching this morning. And then Debbie Chatwin Thomas, that's Al Chatwin's daughter, and he just got back from Guam one of our good friends, Tracy Hunter, and her organization, Beyond the Call, along with Black Rifle Coffee and Scott Gibson, went with Al to Guam. So,
yeah, and then Al went up in a biplane, and then he's going to go with Brooksers to their version of the honor flight, their heroes flight. But when you were talking about the caregivers, Debbie was the first one that came to mind, because Debbie, Al still lives by himself, but he lives just a couple of doors away. And when something goes on with Al, then he needs 24/7 care. Debbie is right with him, and she's also taking care of her husband. And fortunately, they have a huge family that really, everybody in the family seems to help out. But Debbie, sometimes I don't know how Debbie makes it. There's just no time for herself.
She's amazing.
Yes. So when Al goes away on some of these trips, that's when she gets a break.
Yeah.
And then Chris, she's everywhere too. I mean, she's at the base constantly, and she does a lot of things. And we just thank you, Chris, for all the things you do. Well, our time's just about up, and I just wanted to end it with one last picture. I don't get in many pictures, but this was at Skyball, and there's Kelly and Toni and General Aiken. So, you talk about jumping out of airplanes. Robin's jumped out of a few airplanes, so
Crazy.
that was a great night, the Skyball. I'm looking forward to it coming next month. It's going to be another great event. So we just appreciate you all being on, and we appreciate all that you do for our veterans, our military, and our Gold Star families. So we just are anxious to see you soon at another event. And Toni, you are a great inspiration to so many people. And, you honor and respect all these people. And, who would have ever thought, looking back at that high school picture, you never thought that you would have traveled around the world and met hundreds of thousands of people and made a great impact on people, on not only our military out there serving the country and the veterans, but the veterans' families, and then the Gold Star families, and especially those Gold Star children. And for you to have immersed yourself in doing such good things for so many people, and then passing the torch on to Kelly and your other children, and even another generation with your grandchildren, is it's just a real great thing. And I know I'm honored to call you my friend, and I know Mary is too.
Yeah, well, thank you.
And these are just a few of the reasons why I call her Wow Mom. She's amazing.
She is. Absolutely. What's your next big event?
We have a Soaring Valor next week out of LA.
Kelly, are you going on that one?
Yes, I'm going to be able to take Bob, who was Steve's World War II veteran when we went to Normandy. He's out in California, so we're going to be able to go so he can visit his museum for the first time.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah. So this is how we wear our boots.
We're so glad that you've shared a part of your life with us, and I know that there's a million other stories you have, and a million other people that you've touched, and we're just honored to have you on Hometown Heroes today.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having us.
Thank you for your time.
Well, thank you for your time, and we'll be talking to you all soon.
Okay.
Remember, that's the Gary Sinise Foundation. Just check them out on their website and see how you can support them.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow, some more great Americans, Mary.
They're everywhere.
We're really fortunate, aren't we?
We are. And, sometimes you start to think that humanity is completely lost and, people don't care and all that. And then you really stop and look at, like you said, Rick, all the people that we interact with. And there's an awful lot of really good people out there doing an awful lot of really good work and not looking for glory and not looking for a big paycheck. I know you and I get paid really well to do what we do, right? If we had a raise, we'd still be making zero, but we do it because we love what we do. And that's why a lot of people, we bring on so many people on here who are not doing it for any reason other than it's an opportunity to serve, and we have a servant's heart, and that's what we want to keep doing. And there's a lot of folks out there, and it's so nice to be able to highlight them here on Hometown Heroes.
And, you were talking a while ago about the roll call luncheon, every month serving 400 to 500 veterans and supporters. But, that sounds like a lot of people. But roll call, the impact that roll call has is much larger than those 400 or 500 people, because I know in our database we probably got getting close to 2,000 people. But then going around and going with the veterans like Jack Stowe and Al Chatwin and even Bill Henry and all these other great veterans, Don Graves, and the ones that have gone in the last few years that we had such close encounters with, we get to take them out to introduce them to more people that can learn about what they did in their military service.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had 12 people, World War II, Korea, and Vietnam veterans. 12 people were able to take advantage of the dream flights to go up in the biplane last week. And that's just a blessing. We're going to be able to take some Sons of the Flag Country for Country concert that's going to be on the October, and that's their opportunity. Al Chatwin will be singing the national anthem, and we'll have a couple of tables of roll call folks out there, and they'll be able to share with the folks there. And we're taking veterans to Wayside Middle School on the 8th of November. We're going to have some out there, and we've got a couple other schools and civic organizations that we've got veterans going to. And it really is, Rick, it's that reaching out and getting them out in the community not only benefits the veteran and keeps them active and engaged and realizing that they do matter, but it also helps us to share those stories in the community. So it's really just, we are blessed that we get to do that, my friend.
We are indeed. And just like, the relationships, we think about the relationships we build personally, but the relationships that organizations build with each other, just like Sons of the Flag. They've been a great supporter of roll call ever since Don Graves met Ron Parrott a long time ago at a Rotary luncheon or breakfast, and they've been great supporters of us. But as we've got to know them and support their organization, we met so many great people like Zachary Setterfield, a young man that was burned over 60% of his body, and you see the smile on his face, and see him out there dancing and things like that. It's just good to be able to work with these organizations. Just like, there's a lot of them that you and I work with. Holidays and Heroes, the Fort Worth Air Power Council, the Air Power Foundation, Freedom Mobility, and there's just so many organizations out there that are doing such good work. And I know we're just honored to be able to help them in their work.
Absolutely.
And we've got a good event. It's a fundraiser, and all nonprofits like Roll Call need a fundraiser every now and then. And this is our second annual clay shoot. It's going to be at Defender Outdoors Sports Clay Ranch, and it's in the 13th of October. You can go to roll-call.org and find out more information about that. We'll have an auction, or we have a little auction there, and then we've got 20 guns in 20 minutes.
We do. It's going to be, and you can win more than one gun with one ticket. So if we pull your ticket goes right back in the pot. So there's not a one and done.
I probably need to go buy a ticket because 2 out of the 3 last clay shoots that I've gone to shoot photos with, I bought a ticket, and I don't ever buy tickets. I mean, I just don't buy those tickets. But I think my chances are a lot better at winning a gun or winning something from this raffle than they are going to the casino or buying a lotto ticket. And 2 out of the last 3 clay shoots, I've won 3 guns. So
yeah. You're a lucky son of a gun. I never win anything. I
never win anything either, but I hope that my trend continues.
Yeah.
On the same day as the clay shoot, my friends at Pioneers Rest Cemetery, the oldest cemetery in Fort Worth, they're having the Fall Fun Fest, and you can find out more about that at Pioneers Rest Cemetery. And then Freedom Mobility, we're having our annual golf tournament. It's going to be at Robeson Ranch. I think it's a Wild Horse golf course. I'm not sure. But that's going to be a great event. Lockheed Martin's one of our sponsors, along with the Armed Forces Bowl, and we'll have some giveaway things. We're going to give a truck or an SUV to one of our veterans, but that's on November the 11th. And then, of course, November the 21st is the Sky Ball. And you go to the Air Power Foundation and find out more information about that, because this is like the big military event of the year, especially in North Texas, if not in North America. So there's just a lot of good things going on. And
you get to dress up like it's like an adult prom. So you get to dress up if you.
It is.
Yeah.
Return to D-Day, our friend Wayne Lee, I think he's back over there. He came back, did a tour, came back. But if you book a tour for next year, they'll make a donation to Roll Call. And so that's just a great organization that supports us. So supports Roll Call. And then, of course, Roll Call is a great organization. Another event that's coming up on the 1st of October, we're going to have Carrier Ortigal with Hometown Heroes, or not Hometown Heroes, Holidays and Heroes. And I was with Carrie the other day, and we went to the store, Decorators Warehouse, I think. I'm not sure, but it's in Arlington. It's just a Christmas store. And Carrie's going to have her book comes out October the 1st. She'll be on Hometown Heroes, and that night they will have kind of a special time where she'll have a book signing. And during the time, I think it's 6 to 8 that evening, the Decorators Warehouse they will be donating portions of their sales to Holidays and Heroes. So just another great organization out there.
She's got a lot of families to get picked up this year, almost 200 again. Families that will need to be taken care of for Christmas, military families. So that's real important that we do help her out there. And I have some cancellations on the luncheon. So I have about 10 seats open. If anyone's out there, they just reach out to us at info@roll-call.org, and we'll get you in a seat if you're one of those first 10 to let us know.
Very good. I'm anxious to be at Roll Call. I haven't been to the new venue.
Yeah.
I was with Sons of the Flag last month doing their clay shoot. So we just thank everybody that's been a part of this. And I just want to always remember and not forget Army Staff Sergeant Brian Burgess, killed in action March 29, 2011, the son of Terry and Elizabeth Burgess. So remember our military, remember our veterans, and remember our Gold Star families. And we'll see you next week on Hometown Heroes.